From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, here we launch into another brand new week here on the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, keeping an eye on all the breaking news, and there is a lot of it today, so let's get rolling here. Three big things to cover this hour. Number one, 9 violent attackers at the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan shot and killed by U.S. Marines after breaching several lines of security. Many more injured. Newsflash, Marines do not play. Number two, there have been several incidents of what appear to be terror attacks here in the U.S. following the attacks in Iran, and you need to be very aware right now because there will be more, maybe many more. And number three, the latest is the embassy in Kuwait may have been hit by a drone attack from Iran. We're waiting for information to come in, but let's be clear. President Trump didn't start this war. Looks like he's trying to finally end it after 47 years. There are costs ending Iran's reign of terror. There are costs. U.S. Central Command, known as CENTCOM, reporting at least 3 American soldiers dead, 5 wounded, several others with injuries as Iran continues its retaliatory strikes across the Middle Eastern region in response to that massive Israeli-U.S. strike that has killed the supreme leader of Iran and many, many more. Over 1,000 targets have been successfully hit so far, according to CENTCOM, including the headquarters for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, command and control centers, ballistic missile sites, air defense systems, and Navy ships and submarines sunk. The strikes have taken out not only the so-called Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, but also the commander of the IRGC, the defense minister, the chief of staff, and top defense officials and others. Again, this is not a war that Trump started. It's one that's been a long time coming, ever since the Iranian regime held more than 50 Americans, 444 days, beginning in 1979. 241 American service members were killed shortly after in 1983 when Iran directed Hezbollah to bomb our Marine barracks in Beirut, which came months after they bombed our embassy also in Lebanon. They have since kidnapped multiple Americans on numerous occasions. They plotted to assassinate many of our leaders, including President Trump. They provided arms to various militias to carry out bombings that have killed hundreds of American troops, and they were behind the Hamas attack in October of 2023, October 7th. That killed 47 American tourists. And like I said, Trump didn't start this war, but I sure hope he is the one to finally finish it. Iran is responsible for an untold number of deaths through its own arm of oppression and that of proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and Islamic militia groups. Hundreds of thousands have died throughout the Middle East, and since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, upwards of 2,000 Americans have died as well. Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and its leader, who has sanctioned and commanded these acts of terror, is dead. The Iranian regime is still in place, but maybe not for much longer. President Trump has encouraged the people of Iran to stand up to the regime that has oppressed them for the better part of 50 years. Here's part of what he said.
Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
Iranians are celebrating the death of Ali Khamenei worldwide. in the streets of Iran and in the countries to which they've fled across Europe and here in the United States. There's a long path to freedom for Iran, but it's one that these people desperately long to walk. Many are crediting President Trump for making freedom possible for the people of Iran finally. Many are thanking Trump with tears in their eyes and are looking forward to returning to their homeland if peace ensues. Like I said, people are celebrating everywhere, even in Austin, Texas. And a CBS reporter there pulled back the curtain on just how far the media will go to bury the positive sentiment that many are feeling. Watch this reporter refuse to follow orders from his bosses who tell him they're not interested in covering a thank you Trump rally in Texas. He does the right thing. Here he is.
What does that mean? It means they don't want us to focus on this. Well, I am.
Well, that reporter, by the way, went on to cover the rally, even though he was told not to focus on this. He says, well, I am. Of course he is. He's in front of people celebrating. That young man deserves a medal and a raise. Democrats are working overtime to use these strikes as fodder of their midterm campaigns. It is completely tone deaf. Trump's critics apparently hate Trump more than they hate the mullahs and the Ayatollah, who've caused suffering and death for many worldwide, including Americans, home and abroad. Congress will debate the War Powers Act this week. The same Democrats who had no problem with 500 drone strikes that Obama authorized and were used to kill close to 4,000 people in Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, not to mention the 18,000 bombs dropped over 15 different countries during his stay in office. I think that there's plenty of room for the wide variety of opinions that we held over the U.S.'s decision to strike Iran, but I'm not going to listen to a bunch of people who hold negative opinions just because it's Trump that's doing it this time. For instance, Kamala Harris, who had this to say as soon as she could find a camera person interested in her irrelevant opinion. Here it is.
Before I go in, I want to address what we learned today. Donald Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice, and everyone should. And the bottom line, when it comes down to it, is that if we want to stop Donald Trump with this random decision that he has arrived at, then Congress must act, and Congress must act immediately.
Wrong side of history again. Random decision, not based on decades of provocation. Right. Kamala, we'd believe you, except this is an exact 180 from what you claimed just a year ago while you tried to convince the American public to vote for you, despite never winning a primary. We'll get to that and the lunacy of it all after the break. People are celebrating in the streets in Los Angeles, in New York, in Boston, in London. The Iranian people thanking not just the United States, but yes, Israel too. We'll cover it all. Thank you for being here. It's a Monday. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. So which is it? Which is it? I want you to hear this from Kamala Harris because she says one thing, but here's what she said back when she was trying to become president. Listen.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
But when Donald Trump takes military action, she's the first to criticize. Like I said, which is it? Either way you slice it, it looks to me like the Democrat Party is just a bunch of liars who make it up as they go. Depending on what the opposition is doing, they'll just say the opposite. The same people who protested the removal of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro are predictably protesting the death of the so-called Supreme Leader Khamenei and his entire command and control staff. As I've stated 100 times before, freedom is a natural desire. What these people are doing is not natural. It's definitely not organic. Just take a look at these NGO organizers who are bringing in all the mass-produced signs for a hands-off Iran protest in New York City. Just another paid and organized demonstration against Donald Trump that makes no sense whatsoever. These are the same people who claim to care about women's rights, who are mourning the loss of a leader whose regime would rape their female political prisoners before killing them so that these young women didn't die as virgins. People that married children as young as 9, girls as young as 9. There are a handful of Democrats who are still holding on to some modicum of common sense. And CNN was forced to air the opinion of one such Democrat who is an Iranian American. I've just got to play the whole thing because it's that good. Listen.
I think that it is imperative the Democratic Party wake up and get past their dislike of Donald Trump, the President Trump, and their feelings of international conflicts going on. This is about national security. This is about what is possible in the Middle East. This is about being a good neighbor, good partner to the Gulf states and what their aspirations are. This is about supporting the people of Venezuela. This is about dismembering our relationship with, or not dismembering, but resetting our relationship with China. Right now, 55% of the oil production that Iran produces goes to China despite sanctions. You want to support the people of Ukraine, you want to end that war, you have to. There is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have, it is a have to have, and it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And I think, quite frankly, their ideology has really, it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Yeah, neither do the rest of us. Of course, I think it would be wise for her to lead the Democrat Party because it has thrown its weight in with the worst of the worst time and again for a long time. The protesters in New York City and in Boston and in Chicago do not know what they're protesting. They have no idea the kind of oppression and violence that was perpetrated and perpetuated by the regimes that they are now defending. These protesters don't care about America. They don't care about Iranian women or Venezuelan children. They just care about advancing whatever agenda is being popularized on social media by left-wing organizations who will take up whatever cause they think can politically handicap Donald Trump. Thank God for the few Democrats who are choosing country over party at this moment, like John Fetterman, the senator. He nails it right here, nails it.
You support the president's action here. Why?
Well, because that was always the right thing. I mean, you can just put out, tweets and statements, to support peace, but to actually create real peace, you have to do these kinds of actions just like happened. Just like last year, too, when they to destroy their nuclear facilities. Sometimes peace is possible after these kinds of steps, and that's why I support those things.
Yeah. The right thing to do is most often the hardest, but we need leaders who will do it anyways. We do. If you ask me, that's what I believe I saw over the last weekend. You're entitled to your opinion. You are. But don't let it be formed by the mindless ranting and raving of a population that simply hates whatever Donald Trump does. Anything he does, they will go after. All right? Anything he does. And we're going to have a lot from the celebrations in the streets coming up at the top of the next hour, because you need to see the people in the streets dancing and celebrating. Let me flag something important as we move through this winter. Doctors have warned that this year's flu season has been one of the toughest ones on record. Now even mainstream media outlets like Fox are reporting that a new, more virulent and severe flu strain is still moving across the United States. The kicker? The already ineffective flu vaccine is even less effective against this new strain. What the media won't tell you is that Dr. Peter McCullough warned about this weeks ago, did it on this program. He's been clear that this strain is more severe and is unlikely to respond to the flu vaccine, which means personal preparation matters. That's why I trust the good folks at the Wellness Company and their two-step approach. Step 1, prevention through immune defense nasal and throat sprays. Use daily to help support your body's first line of defense right where viruses enter. Step 2, early treatment through the Contagion Emergency Kit. Physician-prescribed antiviral options, including a nebulizer, hydroxychloroquine, and ivermectin. So treatment can start early if you get sick. And if you're not stuck in long lines or shelling out big money at urgent care during the holidays, that's important too. This isn't fear, it's common sense. Get prepared. Always be prepared. You can do that at twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save 10%. The Wellness Company has a variety of great items. They've been great friends. And look, this stuff sits right here on my desk. twc.health/Gruber. Protect yourself today. I'll be right back. Anthony, pull up Byte 11, would you please? Pull up Byte 11. I want to show the folks some of the celebrations. This one in Washington, D.C. I mean, there are protests every day. As you saw, the NGOs were rolling out the pre-made signs, hands off Iran, blah, blah, blah. They come right out of rented vans and right out of the warehouse and right on cue. But here's an organic celebration, not a protest, a celebration in the streets of Washington, D.C. Check this out. Tens of thousands of people. Huge rally. We're going to cover a lot more of that coming up. Look at that. Iranian flags, Israeli flags, and of course, American flags. The celebrations were duplicated globally, by the way, globally. We'll talk about that coming up. So I've got a list here, lest you forget. In 1979, 52 Americans were taken hostage for 444 days, released from captivity 20 minutes after Jimmy Carter left office. In 1983, the Beirut Embassy. 241 U.S. service members killed. That was the Marine barracks. In April of that year, 63 killed, including 17 Americans at the embassy in Beirut. U.S. Embassy Annex bombing, also Beirut, 24 killed, 2 Americans. Hezbollah with Iranian backing. Kidnappings of Americans throughout Lebanon and the Middle East during the 1980s. The Khobar Towers, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. 19 Air Force personnel killed, hundreds wounded. Of course, the Iraq War, Iran killed lots of folks. The Karbala attack, soldiers killed in Karbala, Iraq. The assassination plot in Washington, D.C., disrupted by U.S. authorities. Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror. Well, they have their hands full today, don't they? I'll bring on Hans von Spakovsky in just a moment to break it down for us even further after this.
Ernie Johnson and Charles.
All right, let's keep an eye on everything happening in the theater of Iran right now. It's very busy, to say the least. Hans von Spakovsky is joining me now. Next, legal expert, senior legal fellow in the Edwin Meese Institute for the Rule of Law and Advancing American Freedom. Hans, good morning. Good to have you here. Obviously, the operations are ongoing. I just saw footage of an American fighter jet coming down. Looks like it was hit by anti-missile fire, not by the enemy, but that has happened. The embassy in Kuwait appears to have been hit. We don't have any results about what has resulted from that, but we do know 3 American service members are killed. It seems popular in the streets. I just played the footage of people celebrating in the streets of D.C. and L.A. and London and elsewhere. But we've got a lot of work to do. This is just the beginning, isn't it?
It is, but folks need to understand when you look at the state sponsor of terrorism that Iran is, and particularly the listing of attacks that you put out. Look, no one should doubt. Does anybody doubt that if they had nuclear warheads that they could put on the missiles that they are sending out all over the Middle East? Does anybody doubt that the current regime or what's left of it would launch them and that we would have a nuclear holocaust throughout the Middle East? That is what this government is trying to stop. And I just don't see how anyone could be against that.
I don't either. In fact, we played 2 bites there from Kamala Harris. One during her run for president when she said Iran is our biggest enemy because they're a state sponsor of terrorism. And then from Saturday when she said that Donald Trump made a random choice to go into Iran. This was not random. This was provoked for 47 years, Hans. 47 years. Right. I was in middle school when those hostages were taken. It's clear as a bell to me what happened in Beirut at the embassy there, and then the Marine barracks. Clear as a bell, the USS Cole, and on and on and on. The nation of Iran has been a problem for the civilized world for almost 50 years. Correct?
No, that's correct. I mean, Kamala Harris must be a big fan of Neville Chamberlain. I mean, there's no other way of looking at it. And if she had been elected president, she would have taken absolutely no steps whatsoever to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. And if that had happened, the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world with nuclear weapons, the situation we would have faced down the road would have been terrible and would have resulted, no doubt, in the loss of potentially tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of lives, not only throughout the Middle East, but potentially in the U.S. if the Iranians smuggled a nuclear weapon into the U.S. And again, no one should doubt that they would do that if they thought they could.
Yeah. Let's talk about the disingenuous nature of the Democrats. Tim Kaine has been front and center out there saying this is unconstitutional, this is illegal. Look, Barack Obama dropped something on the order of 18,000 bombs on 15 different countries, precipitated regime change in Libya and Syria, and all of these things. Democrats didn't say a peep. You know, he bombed all over the world, killed American citizens, in fact, on drone strikes, did Barack Obama. And look, every president in my lifetime has waged war. That doesn't mean declare war. There is a legal difference, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And any claim this is unconstitutional is just wrong and clearly is just a political statement. Under the Constitution, the president is the commander-in-chief. He has the authority to engage in these type of military operations. The power that Congress has, if they don't agree or don't like it, is to not provide the financial support, the money that fuels this. That is their constitutional response to this. And so any claim that it's unconstitutional in the conflicts the U.S. has been in now for over 250 years, only in a very small percentage of them has Congress actually taken the step of declaring war. And no one has ever said that any of those other actions were somehow unconstitutional.
Right. All right, so let me ask you this. We've watched this for too long. We've seen the Iraq and Afghanistan fiascos, and this is not that. They're all, every issue is different. The Democrats came out and opposed the removal of Maduro from Venezuela. From where I'm sitting, that was pretty successful, and it's pretty successful 8 weeks on because we didn't take out and fire everybody. We didn't fire all the police officers. We didn't do all of the things we did in Iraq that were big mistakes. We didn't gut the whole system, right? We kept part of it in place. But how do you How do you make a change, a regime change in Iran, using simply air assaults and military assaults from the air? How do you do it without putting anybody on the ground?
Well, look, everyone keeps talking about regime change. Yeah, hopefully that happens, but that's not the point of this operation, no matter what folks are saying. The point of this operation is to decapitate the current leadership, both political and military, who are the ones pushing Iran to be a state sponsor of terrorism, and to destroy their military capabilities so that no matter what happens in Iran, whether others simply take over as a dictator, whether democracy occurs, uh, they cannot wage this kind of terrorist war again. That is the point of this. Yeah, hopefully there'll be a regime change. Hopefully the people will be able to throw out the worst people in the country. Whether or not that happens, the point here is to destroy their military capability.
And when you look at the groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis and others, their supply chain just got wrecked. Who's going to resupply them now?
Yeah, that's the other big thing. Now, the Russians might try to do it. The Chinese might try to do it in order to cause problems throughout the Middle East. But yeah, their money and their weapon supply is now basically gone. And that could cause good things to happen all over the Middle East.
Yeah, real quickly about China. China took somewhere between 50 and 75% of Iranian oil, depending on who you ask, at a discount, at half off. They also got a lot of oil from Venezuela. China's taken 2 hits. You know, the cheap oil that's propped up the Chinese economy has been cut dramatically. 30 seconds. Hans, last word to you.
What all of this means is that Russia has now become a vassal state of China, because all of Russian oil is going to be going to China to help China and also to fuel Putin's economy and his Ukrainian war.
Yeah, so in effect, I'm glad you said that. By hitting Iran, we help potentially speed the end of the war in Ukraine. Maybe. We'll see how it plays out, Hans. These are all a lot of maybes on day 3 of this activity. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on it here for you every day. Yeah, you see, if Iran can't help Russia, and it's all connected. Donald Trump taking down the globalist system and the terrorist systems. At least that is my hope here today. When I come back, I hope to help you with your health. You got to be strong through all of this. I'll be right back. All right, let's just jump right back into it because what we're going to talk about here is serious. I've been through it. You've probably been through it. Anybody who's ever tried to lose a few pounds has been through it. Motivation, and then disappointment, and then frustration, then anger, and then ultimately failure. And the pattern repeats. Missy Malone is with me from My Pure Health because we've got to break the cycle, Missy. Good morning. We've got to get people healthy. Look, there's so much going on in the headlines. Nice shirt, by the way. We've got to break this pattern because this frustration, this anger, this disappointment, this self-doubt, we got to get past this, don't we, when it comes to losing a few pounds?
Absolutely. Since everything is fake news these days, guess what? The diet industry is fake news as well. Americans have been for years, believing that they just try harder and eventually that the scale is going to move in their favor, and it's not.
It's just not. So you've got a couple things you want to share with the folks here. Go ahead. It's not your fault. Let me just be your cheerleader. It's not your fault. You just have been given bad information, or as Missy says, fake news. Missy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if we stopped and used our logical minds for just a moment, in what world is there a one-size-fits-all shop to go buy our clothes at, or a one-size-fits-all car, automobile, parking lot, wherever you use the one-size-fits-all mentality? We apply that to losing weight. We are the most, our system, our body is run off of frequencies, and we can thank Nikola Tesla for that. He said to us years ago, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you have to know what a frequency is. And so we use Tesla style equipment, I would say, to be able to help assess each person's body to figure out what is going on inside their body what is causing their metabolism to not work. Their metabolism is just turned off, and no one's ever explained to anybody, unless they've met us or a few people that are like us in the United States, no one's explained to somebody what's causing your metabolism to be broken. And so that's what we do. We find the cause. We have to scan the body. That sounds out there, but my God, use a logical mind again and look at technology and where it's taken us. Technology has allowed us to be able to figure out what's going on inside of a client's body to causing metabolism to be broken, and then we fix it. We bring it online, and then we show you how to keep it off.
Okay, so here's the deal. I did this in 2018, and I've tuned up now and then, but I kept the weight off. So for me, it worked. That whole cycle of get motivated, go to the gym, and kill yourself in the gym, and don't eat this, and failure. Right? Everybody's been there that's ever tried to diet. This is different. This worked for me, and here's my announcement for this morning. Starting today or tomorrow, whenever Missy and I can hook up, I'm going to do 20 days, and I'm going to have Missy come back in 3 weeks, and we're going to put me on the scale, not live, of course, because that'd be scary. But we're going to put me on the scale, and we're going to see how I do in 20 days, okay? Is that a deal? We're going to prove it to the people.
I love it. That's a secret, because when you jump start, if your car engine is dead because you left the lights on overnight and your car is dead, what you need are jumper cables, not a can of oil. A can of oil.
All right. Well, Missy, we had a little bit of a connection issue there. We're just going to hold with her. She'll be right back. Don't you worry. Come back to me for a second, because here's the deal. I did this back in 2018. I lost 46 pounds, or was it 47? 47 pounds, actually. Give myself credit. I didn't think it would work. Missy sent the scanner over to my house. I scanned myself. I thought, well, come on, really? Really? This was the best thing I ever did. I didn't even think I was that heavy. I lost 47 pounds. I did an extended time. I did 60 days. Because I was so excited about the results, I said, let's keep going. Let's keep going. And we did. And her team is amazing at My Pure Health. And you can find out more at gruberhealth.com. It's an easy thing to do. You'll save a little bit of money by working with us as well, because Missy takes care of the Gruber fans, all right? So if you're watching me and you say, hey, Steve, does it really work? Yeah, it really works. And there's Missy back again. 20-day challenge to me today, Missy. 20-day challenge to me. You come back in 3 weeks. We're going to prove to the folks that this works. And how about this, folks? Come along with me. We'll do this for 20 days. You can do 30, you can do 40. Because what happened to me, I got so excited that I'm like, my God, it's working. My God, it's working. And I just said, I'm going to keep going. In fact, we had some friends, Ivy and I did, said, stop losing weight. You've lost too much. You've lost. I'm like, really? Anyhow, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing. Sorry. Somebody, the enemy is at force trying to make sure that my voice doesn't get out to America. The biggest thing is, yes, it's not your fault you can't lose weight. When you call to have a consultation, we're not the people that are trying to sit there and like, give me your credit card right now. I mean, we're not pushy. We're not salespeople. We are here to explain and to empower the people to take back their health.
Yeah. In fact, I got a call from a couple here after you were on here just recently. And this guy sent me an email and said, I don't know if you could ever call me. I called him because his wife is doing the program. They drove up to see you. I think it was from maybe Indiana, right? And I said, do this. You're going to be glad you did this. This works. I did it. The weight never came back. It's a great program. So do this. Go to gruberhealth.com. This is not a diet. This is a plan to change your metabolism, to change the frequencies, and to change your life. Missy, you do great work. And you're right. She's more interested in helping you than she is about getting your credit card. And I think that's different. That's why we've been friends for 8-9 years now, right? Because it's real, right? It's real. All right, Missy, God bless you. God bless America. Thank you for the American flag shirt. Greatly appreciate that. Again, it's gruberhealth.com. Check back in 3 weeks. You're going to see. I'm going to show you, and I'll be honest. I'll be honest about how much weight I lose in 20. And I don't have nearly as much to lose as I did at one time. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me here, Missy. But we're going to make this work, and I will talk to you soon. Missy, thank you.
God bless. God bless.
Thank you very much. Again, gruberhealth.com, gruberhealth.com. It's all right there on your screen. Trust me on this, my friends. If you listen to this program, I only work with people I trust and products that I use. I used this one. It worked like a charm. gruberhealth.com. All right? I'll be right back. All right, another terrorist attack, this time Edinburgh, Scotland. A migrant captured on video clutching two large butcher knives after the attack. 3 victims confirmed from this individual. Schools locked down. They're getting there. All right, coming up at 9 o'clock this morning, we drop a new episode of Forgotten America. This one, you're going to love. Private equity. Private equity, they're the ones gobbling up your veterinary's office, your HVAC company, the plumbers, the electricians, putting them all in and making them look like they're still owned by the mom and pop that have been there for the last 20, 30, 40 years, and they're not because they buy the images. But it's a lot worse than that. We're going to talk about today, this is shocking, from Tiffany Cianci. We're going to talk about private equity buying these adventure parks, right? She has a whole series of people, 48 people falling from zip lines, and none of them can sue. Because when you sign in and say, here's my waiver, and you sign that little electronic board when you go through and pay your ticket price, you've agreed to arbitration. And the company wins 97% of the time when they get taken to court, because you can't get taken to court directly because you agreed to arbitration. The company keeps winning. This is mind-blowing. Private equity taking over American businesses to create cash flow, and they're putting profits over people. Look, I'm a free market guy, but this is garbage. I'm a free market guy. I'm a capitalist. This is garbage. This can be mind-blowing. Look, all you have to do is go to YouTube. Right there. It's on your screen. Subscribe. Hit the like button. All of that good stuff at YouTube. Forgotten America. Me and Ivy will talk to Tiffany Cianci because she's dug deep into this, taken them on herself, and won. You'll want to hear this. It'll explain why everything from your veterinary's office to your furnace repair people, to the people running the old folks' home down the street. They look like they're a local company. They're not. They're not. Go to YouTube. Become a subscriber. We'll have more about the war in Iran and everything going on there. Latest coming up after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, and welcome back as we continue fighting for America from the foxhole of freedom. Glad to have you on board this morning as we continue to monitor exactly what's happening in Iran and throughout the Middle Eastern region as Iran is indiscriminately firing missiles across the region. Here are three big things you need to know right now. Number one, the House and Senate are returning to session in Washington today, and the War Powers Act will likely be up for a vote this week, as some scream Trump had no right to put a stop to a violent regime in Iran. Number two, at a time of heightened security risks, the partial government shutdown pushed by the Democrats is putting us at risk. TSA and others not being funded today. What a terrible decision. And number three, like I say, we're keeping an eye on what's happening here. Just learned 3 F-15s taken out by friendly fire over Kuwait. 3 American F-15s is the anti-incoming missile defense systems caught 3 F-15s. All 3 air crews are fine. They ejected safely, but it's a terrible mistake. We'll give you that. Meanwhile, the Aramco facility in Saudi Arabia targeted by Iranian drones. Look, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and everybody else is going to launch their full military strength against Iran as well. It's a coordinated effort now. Iran is the odd man out, if you will. So we're keeping an eye on all this breaking news. It also appears that the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait has been hit. We are waiting for damage assessments and everything else. Meanwhile, the Americans, the UAE, Israel, and others continue to pound targets inside of Iran. All right, so others are involved now. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, taking down the radical Iranian regime after 47 years. And once again, we can find one Democrat after another opposing the removal of a bloody dictator and a regime that murdered an estimated 30,000 of its own citizens just in the last few weeks. A regime that allows the right of marriage is at 13 legally. Many girls are forced into marriage with much older men as early as the age of 9. 9. It's remarkable. And if you missed it last hour, I want you to hear this again. The most remarkable rebuke of Democrats by a Democrat on the strikes in Iran. And more importantly, saying President Trump did the right thing. This is happening more and more as Democrats go, "Who are you?" to their own party. Listen.
I think that it is imperative the Democratic Party wake up and get past their dislike of Donald Trump, the President Trump, and their feelings of international conflicts going on. This is about national security. This is about what is possible in the Middle East. This is about being a good neighbor, good partner to the Gulf states and what their aspirations are. This is about supporting the people of Venezuela. This is about dismembering our relationship with, or not dismembering, but resetting our relationship with China. Right now, 55% of the oil production that Iran produces goes to China despite sanctions. You want to support the people of Ukraine? You want to end that war? You have to. There is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have. It is a have to have. And it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And I think, quite frankly, their ideology has really, it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that. Meanwhile, other updates include this. The UK, Germany, and France say they are now joining the effort as the coalition grows dramatically overnight. The French issuing orders to an aircraft carrier to join the fight against Iran. it's happening, and it's happening in real time. This regime is hanging by a thread. Will there be regime change? We'll see. The so-called supreme leader dead, along with 40 other leaders, military leaders, political leaders, and so forth. The decapitation was pretty much complete. But they had pre-standing orders. That's why these missiles are flying. That's why you have ships being attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. It's why you have the Kuwait, U.S. Embassy in Kuwait being attacked, and so on and so forth. I want to play this for you again, too. This is a longer clip. We played this last hour, but here is a true hero. A local CBS reporter, Austin, Texas, gets a notification just before going on to do a live shot not to focus on the massive turnout of supporters he's standing right in front of. But he did the right thing. He told the truth about what is happening. God bless him. Listen.
What does that mean? It means they don't want us to focus on this. Alright. Well, I am.
Well, they don't want you to focus on this.
Mixed opinions across Austin about the joint attack between the United States and Israel against Iran that happened early this morning. Some people, like this group behind me, are thanking Trump and the United States government for following through with this attack against Iran, while other people across the city say there needs to be more peace in the Middle East. The strike is drawing a variety of...
Yeah, there you go. Told they don't want you focusing on this. Well, kind of hard to avoid. And he said, well, I am. And then he did. That guy deserves a raise. I don't know his name. We will. Today we'll know his name, that's for sure. The people demanding the Democrats wake up about Iran and freedom. Here it is.
How can you be silent? This is not okay. I'm no longer going to support Democrats. You Iranians, none of you should support Democrats. I'm honest. Honestly, I'm livid. I'm livid. I'm done with them completely. Just acknowledge the truth. Islamist Marxism is a terrorist entity. 90 million Iranians held hostage for 47 years because of your silence. American people, this is not about being politically correct. This is not about Islam. This is not about religion. This is about a cult. I beg you, I urge everyone, Democrat, Republican, please stand for people of Iran. This time, please stand by us. I beg you. I beg you.
All right, it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. Some indication that some of the Iranian oil fields have been hit. I don't know if these things are true. This is what I caution you. Be careful what you see on social media. If you're on X, just go to Grok and say, is this true? And then drop the link in there. It'll often tell you within moments whether it's true or not. Much of it greatly exaggerated. There were reports that the Saudi Arabian oil fields have been hit. They did get hit by a single drone. The fire is contained. Oil prices will spike today, already up 7%. Fill up your tank if you have time. Prices will go up for a period of time, that's for sure. I'll take a break and be right back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, watching all the breaking news here, and it's going to be hard to keep up with everything. It seems that the U.S. base in Bahrain was hit by drones, maybe missiles. It has been hit hard, but not destroyed. Many of the personnel there had already been moved off base and operating remotely, so we'll see how that plays out. The U.S. Embassy in Kuwait apparently hit by return fire from Iran. The remnants of their leadership being destroyed overnight again. More leaders killed. In fact, it's being reported in some places the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon has been killed by Israeli strikes there. We'll keep an eye on all of this as we watch this unfold day 3. Commander Phil Ayer is a U.S. Navy retired commander. He joins me now for his assessment. Commander, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Steve. Good to meet you for the very first time.
Good to meet you, sir. I understand you're in Ukraine. We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's talk about your assessment thus far. The strikes have hit over 1,000 targets in Iran, a complete decapitation of the leadership there. The so-called supreme leader killed, along with about 40, we understand, of other top commanders and leaders, chiefs of staff. I don't know who's running around right now, but I know the supreme leader is not. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is a great thing that supreme leader is gone. He's been a source of instability for many, many years, and his predecessor was too. So I'm one of these Democrats, retired Navy Democrat, running for office, by the way, who has come out forcefully to say that his choice of retaliation on U.S. Bases cannot stand. I happen to have flown out of Bahrain, fought out of Bahrain, and operated in the region as well. And there are people like me who, a little bit contrasting to how you introduced the political party that I happen to be associated with, as very happy that another dictator is gone and looking forward to more leaving. This is a time of hope, but hope is not a strategy. And so I'm thinking that, we need to keep our wits about us. I really appreciated, Steve, what you said about basically the fog of war. The reports that we're seeing aren't necessarily right, and certainly the first reports are often wrong.
Be very careful.
But it's a time that
the first casualty of war, sir, as you know, is truth. So be very careful what you read and listen to and accept as being fact before it's verified. I would say that. As a Democrat, sir, you stand on an island almost by yourself. There's 3 or 4 of you, but there aren't many. You and John Fetterman get to hang out and have cocktails, I guess, because, look, the Democrat Party has come out in mass against this. Apparently they thought that the supreme leader and murdering its own citizens, killing Americans, beginning in 1979, again in 1983, again in 2000 with the USS Cole, and I could go down the list. It's extensive. Why are the Democrats, your party, so opposed to this? I appreciate your honesty. I do. But you can't recognize a Democrat Party. I don't recognize it from when I was growing up. What happened?
Well, I'm not going to speak for the party. I'll speak for myself, and I will also think from the little I saw of a headline from what Senator Mark Kelly put out, I'm standing with him as well, who is supportive of it. So there's.
Well, hold on. I've got Mark Kelly here. Hold on. Mark Kelly is totally opposed to it. Says it's an illegal war.
Well, what's his quote? Maybe I didn't see the headline.
Hold on, Anthony. We've got the bite with Mark Kelly. Let me just reach over here and grab it because I'd like you to hear this. I'm sure I've got it.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't save it, but I thought I did. Okay. Anyhow, Mark Kelly said this is an illegal war with no plan, and so on and so forth. So be careful who you side with.
Okay. Fair. Look, I'm still associating with Mark Kelly and many Democrats, and let's dive into that because it may be illegal in the U.S. sense, but they can also have a very positive outcome. So I think that the positive outcome is that one more dictator is gone. He's not able to persecute his people as much. Their drones being sold to Russia might slow down. That would be a wonderful thing for people out here in Ukraine who are just ecstatic, like many of the rest of the freedom-loving world that is happy that we don't have that dictator around. That's a separate topic than whether Iran is going to change and become a democratic state. We hope that it will, but hope is not a strategy. And fine, it's kind of their business, not so much ours.
Yeah, regime change has a very poor
So
track
that's
record.
a start.
Yeah, regime change has a very poor
Right,
track
it
record
does.
in recent history, and I don't know how you execute this without boots on the ground, which is something that most Americans are opposed to, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whomever. But right now, after 47 years of the leaders of state-sponsored terrorism being leveled, I think this is good news for everybody. I think we agree on that, sir. That's for sure. What are you running for?
Yes, sir. I'm a candidate for the United States House of Representatives in Florida's 28th congressional district, which is the southernmost in the state. I'm running in a place where we are, my constituents are, or my future constituents are so focused on Cuba and so focused on Venezuela. And let me just tie what's happened in Iran to what's happening here in Ukraine. And they're all dictatorships. They're all autocrats. And so as we see one fall after another, partly because of Donald Trump's decision to extract Maduro, but not recognize the legitimacy of the 2024 presidential election in Venezuela. That's a problem for me. The fact that
well, the 2024 election in Venezuela, the Democrats didn't recognize that as being legitimate either. Nobody did.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm thinking there's a lot of people who did. Look at the people I'm running against certainly did, and so I don't know. I think we have to maybe dig into that some more too. But to keep on your question, there is a overall theme: dictator gone, good; democracy promotion not really happening. Question about with the speed of it. Marco Rubio says that we need to manage the transition to something more positive in Venezuela. Fine, let's kick it up a gear a bit. What's happening in Iran right now? Well, we don't know, and it's too early, and it's really up to them. What's happening in Ukraine is similar in that they've got this dictator Putin breathing down their neck.
True.
And,
Commander, hold that thought right there. I want to bring you through the break and give you 2.5 more minutes, if you would. I mean, you're on the phone from Ukraine, so let's extend it just a moment. We'll be back in 60 seconds with Commander Phil Eyre, U.S. Navy, retired after this. All right, back to it now with Commander Phil Eyre, U.S. Navy, retired, sir. All of these things are interconnected, as you point out. And all of these things, I think, is part of the global strategy of the president to take power away from China. A lot of this leads back to China. Look, the Venezuelan oil that flowed to China at half price has been cut off.
Yeah.
50% to 75%, nobody's exactly sure of the oil produced in Iran flows over to China at cut rates. In effect, making Russia a vassal state of China because they'll have to supply the oil to China if they're to get any. It changes everything, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And as we were following on, I think you and I are very much aligned that the dictators are gone. That's a very good thing. But what we are risking in the way we are going about it is risking our own values as a democracy where the first article of federal power is in the Congress. Congress has been absent from a lot of these big decisions because it's been broken for years. And they've just been weak and weak and weak.
Well,
and
in fairness, Commander, in fairness, we've only declared war 5 times. We've only declared war 5 times in American history, the last time being World War II. Right. I believe there's been a lot of military action by the United States all over the globe since World War II. This is not unique to Donald Trump in any way, is it?
That's right. Some people go back and say, "Oh, look at what Obama did in Libya in 2020."
Exactly.
He went out without congressional approval, but he had legitimacy in other venues, and that legitimacy was in the form of United Nations Security Council resolution. A lot of allies came in from the start. I know allies are coming on now. I think the UK was with us, and Israel was with us on the first part of the strike, and now you just
the UK was not with us.
Germany
with
and
us
France
now.
coming on.
The UK, Germany, France are on board,
Okay.
as is the UAE. Saudi Arabia and UAE and others have declared war on Iran. But we don't know how this plays out. We're in the early hours of what could drag on for a while. Commander Phil Eyre, I would love to have you back anytime you want to come on this program. We may not agree on everything, but we found something here that's unique. I'm a conservative. I'm not a member of any political party. You're a Democrat, and we found a lot of things to agree on. Boy, that would be a great place to start the next conversation, and I appreciate you, sir.
How about we just also agree that America is a great place, that we
Yes,
both
sir.
love our country, and
There
that
you go.
you, sir, and I are both patriots.
Amen. Phil Eyre, thank you. We'll talk again. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. Brendan Steinhauser is a Republican strategist and the CEO of the Alliance for a Secure AI. He joins me now as we continue this conversation. A lot going on, Brendan. You may have noticed it was a busy weekend for news. Thank you for being here.
You bet. Happy to be back with you, Steve.
Just let me just take a moment and talk about everything that's happening in the Middle East right now, because AI has changed the world. And it can do it for the better, and it can do it for the worse, and it can do it for a lot of different ways. But what about AI on the battlefield? Might not be your area of expertise, but good Lord, I know that it's in there. I'm looking at all these drones, these Lucas drones, unmanned drones that have been able to completely outsmart the air defenses of Iran. And that's just one tool in the arsenal. What kind of a role does AI play on the modern battlefield?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the answer is it's playing a big role right now, and it has been in Russia and Ukraine in that war. We're seeing it now with the strikes in Iran, and we'll see what happens with that conflict. But I expect that drones are going to be used more and more. You're going to see more automated weaponry, and eventually what they call killer robots, essentially, robots powered by AI that are doing a lot of the fighting. And so it's going to have a bigger role. I think the thing that many of us are concerned about is if we cede control over strategic and tactical decision making to AI, that's where we run into some really serious challenges, because we still need to have human beings not only in the loop, but human beings directing the robots, directing the drones to fight the wars. And so that's what a lot of observers are concerned about.
Yeah. And we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward. But it is, weaponized robots. They don't have a conscience. They don't have a way to mitigate, the situation. They just do. It's binary, kill or not kill, I think, too often. And that's a concern of people, right, when it comes to military hardware. Now, let me shift gears here with you, because it's the people versus AI is one of your concerns. And you say that politicians who choose to do the bidding of big tech at the expense of people going to work today in America, millions of people, it's going to pay a huge political price, and it's going to pay a price for people. I heard Elon Musk say this. In a lot of applications, let's use accountants for an example. Who's going to need an accountant in 5 years when AI can go through and find every deduction in a better way than your accountant could? Talk about unemployment lines growing for accountants, and that's just one easy example, isn't it?
It is, and we've seen studies recently that show that perhaps as many as 90% of jobs in the world could be automated by AI. Now, obviously, it may take, it may take some time to transition those jobs. We may see unemployment grow at a steady rate, but there's no plan for what to do with that. And I don't think that's a good outcome that anybody wants. I go around and I speak to groups all the time across the country. Nobody supports the idea of AI replacing human beings, other than a handful of companies whose sole purpose it is to get AI to replace human beings so they can make billions and billions of dollars. So the American people are very concerned about this, and it's really created a strange bedfellows case where you have people on the left and on the right, people that are not political. You have creative people, business people, welders and truck drivers and nurses and doctors. You have a lot of people who are concerned about their own profession and concerned about what AI replacement could mean for human purpose and dignity. And so I think the jobs issue is front and center.
Even in this job, I've told this story before, but I'll share it with you. A few months ago, Ivy, my wife who runs this operation, sent me an email, said, hey, listen to this spot that I put together. I listened to the spot. It's from one of my sponsors, and it's me doing the spot. And I called her immediately. I said, I never did that spot. She goes, I know. I sampled your voice, fed it into an AI program, and I'm doing a spot that I never read. I mean, how many steps away are we from just creating an AI version of me or an AI version of anybody to sit here and give you information? And you think, hey, I'm watching, here's John doing the news, here's Gruber doing the news, and it's not. That's frightening, too, because then the algorithms control all the messaging, the rise of the machine, for sure, isn't it?
It is, and we could very quickly lose control because there's been so many examples of where we have realized we can't currently control AI. We can't get it to do what we want it to do. So if you create sort of an avatar of yourself or a clone of yourself, if you want, a digital version, it's not clear to me that you'll be able to get it to do what you want. And so all of a sudden, that digital clone of Steve Gruber is saying something that the real Steve Gruber would never say. And then you're not able to turn it off. You're not able to convince people that the real Steve Gruber's, saying what he wants to be saying. So I think it's a real problem, and it's something that people are waking up to. In fact, we saw just in the last week or so one of the leading people at Meta, whose job it is to control AI, to get it to do what we want it to do, lost control of her own AI agent. And it was going through and doing all sorts of things she told it explicitly not to do. So we have some real problems on our hands, and AI should be a tool that we use for things, but I just don't feel like we've been able to solve this problem of making sure we control it. And if we can't do it in the economic sphere and we can't do it in the military sphere, then we are entering a brave new world indeed.
We certainly are. And look, here's the question. Can these machines become self-learning? That's the concern. If they can become autonomous and learn on their own, and as you said, the AI version of me starts saying things that I would never say or support or do, and you can't differentiate between the two, because if these machines that can think faster than the human mind and can begin to become autonomous and learn on their own, how do you stop that?
Yeah, my fear is that we'll be racing so fast that we will blow past the point at which we can stop or pause to get it right. Many people are calling for a pause, at least on the development of this sort of artificial general intelligence or a super intelligence. Many people have signed a letter, to say, look, let's not do that until we solve this alignment problem, until we know we can control it. Sure, we can use AI to do certain things where we know that we can sort of keep it in check. But yeah, what you're talking about, this kind of idea of self-improvement, of recursive self-improvement, where it learns and it gets better through millions and millions of simulations and feedback loops. We're on the cusp of that, and many people in Silicon Valley are kind of, raising the alarm bell here, and they're seeing what's happening in software engineering and software development, and they're saying to the rest of the world, you better wake up because this is happening and it's going to happen really fast. So I think a pause on any super intelligence discussion is probably in order here if we want to maintain human control.
Except that the people in China and elsewhere, they won't pump the brakes. America might, but the rest won't. Here's how frightening it is. I'll leave you with this. Grok, the AI part of X, predicted exactly February 28th was going to be the day the war started. Exactly. And when asked about it, Grok said, just compiling the information, nothing special here. Pretty frightening stuff, Brendan. Last word to you.
It is. And again, I think that if you look at this war going on right now in the Middle East, whatever you think about it, I think that now is the time to be really concerned about integrating AI into the military. This is for all governments to think about. This is for all of us to worry about.
Yeah.
Because if we start to do that and we lose control, it could be a big problem.
Brendan Steinhauser, we'll talk again soon as we continue to expose both the good and the bad of AI. It's, you're right, it's the quickening. Sir, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Everything moves faster all the time. The quickening, faster and faster and faster. And then it's going so fast, you can't keep up. Think about it. I'll be back. All right, keeping up on all the latest, I can tell you there's 3 U.S. warplanes, F-16s, I believe they were, but we'll wait for confirmation on which planes they were, shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses by accident. 3 planes down. All the pilots and all members of the aircrew were safely ejected from those planes, but 3 planes lost. Meanwhile, Iran accusing the United States and Israel of hitting nuclear enrichment facilities. The Iran regime, I can assure you of this, will never recover. All right, that's a fact. So we're going to keep an eye on all of that, but I want to make sure we get you all the other headlines that matter as well. All right, and in Minnesota, there in Minneapolis, the sheriff's department finally stepping up said, we've had enough of these ICE agitators, these radical, violent protesters. They had enough. They started taking people down, macing them, and arresting them, one after another. Listen to this. Yes, their patience has run out. They're all done with it. There were some other numerous clashes with the sheriff's department there. Numerous clashes as they handcuff and drag away these radical, violent protesters. They've had all they can take, and they're over it. Nice to see law enforcement step up and do the job finally in Minnesota. Things are changing there. I wonder what the election is going to be like in Minnesota this time around. People that are just sick and tired of the festering blister called Minneapolis. They're sick of it. They're absolutely sick of it. And after continued harassment from radicals in Minnesota, guess what? Target says, we're done here in Minneapolis. In fact, so done, they paid $110 million to close out a lease. And the store is empty and for sale. Listen to this.
Brian Cornell.
Hi, Brian. My name is Pastor Martha Bardwell, and I'm here with a bunch of clergy in the lobby of corporate headquarters. We are waiting here to speak with you.
Is this the right Brian Cornell?
You're out of town here. I'm putting you on speakerphone so we can all hear you. Go ahead.
I am out of town right now and heading into a meeting, but I know our local group is going to be happy to talk to you. So thanks for
Okay, can we get you on Zoom? Can we get you on Zoom after that meeting?
Sorry, I better run.
We're in total crisis over here in Minnesota. We really need to talk with you.
Oh,
it's really...
Yeah, he hung up on her. He doesn't care. We're done with Minnesota. There's the CEO of Target saying, I'm in a meeting. Our local people can deal with you, but I'm done. $110 million they paid to be done with their stores being looted, robbed, and the centers for these ICE agitators to come in and buy stuff and then return it and create big clogs in the store. Yeah, we're done. See you later. Don't need you. Got lots of other stores where people don't conduct themselves as children. So there, congratulations to the white liberal women of Minneapolis. You've gotten Target to leave. Well done. Way to express yourself. Meanwhile, fraud investigations in Minnesota about to go into hyperdrive. All the money being stolen from you, the American taxpayer, that's about to come to an end. Listen to this part.
Our resources are greater than they were 2 months ago by a considerable margin, and the pace of prosecutions and fraud will increase at a considerable margin, and you'll see that roll out over the coming weeks and months.
Some U.S. attorneys left in recent months.
Oh, yeah, well, I have left to mention that. Well, it's been well reported that some U.S. attorneys have left in recent months.
Adequate staffing to carry out the fraud.
Oh, we have more than adequate staffing to carry out the fraud. We have been reinforced in dramatic numbers by the Department of Justice and by other departments of the federal government. And fraud investigations are increasing in pace. Fraud prosecutions, you will see, are going to be dramatically increasing in pace. If you're committing fraud in the state of Minnesota, it's really not a good time to be doing it.
Not a good time to be doing that if you're in Minnesota committing fraud. Here's what I see. On the world stage, whether it's Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, take your pick, Donald Trump is ferreting out dictators and hoping for a new day. Venezuela, it's been 8 weeks now. Didn't start World War III, did it? So far, the battles in Iran have not triggered World War III. In fact, quite the opposite. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, all now declaring war on Iran. This has created a coalition, the UK joining, France joining, Germany joining. Of course, they sat it out because that's what wimps do. They don't stand for what's right. But there have been numerous small terror attacks. So I say be vigilant, my friends. Be careful. We're going to see more terrorist attacks here on American soil. Bigger than we've seen thus far. Bigger than the attack in Austin, Texas, where a guy wearing property of Allah, wearing a shirt that says property of Allah, murdered 3 people at a bar before being gunned down by police. That happened over the weekend, in case you missed it. So there's just a tremendous amount going on, and we're going to keep on top of it right here, every step of the way. Don't forget to join me this afternoon for America's Voice Live on Real America's Voice. We'll have the latest by mid-afternoon there. I encourage you to join me. And follow me on all social media platforms. We're keeping up with the breaking developments as fast as we can. There's a lot going on, to say the least. If your flannel feels thin, flimsy, or worn out after one wash, you're doing it wrong. Muskox flannels are built different. Heavyweight, rugged, and insanely comfortable. They are the best. These aren't fashion flannels. They're made from thick double-brush cotton that actually hold up in cold weather, hard work, and real life. And they look great doing it. Check them out. Look at that shirt. Even better, Muskox flannel helps support wildlife conservation. Right now, you can score $15 off when you use the promo code HEAVYWEIGHT at gomuskox.com. GoMuskox.com/heavyweight. You're going to save $15. This shirt is an investment. You'll be glad you own it. I'm glad I own them. I can tell you that. It was 9 degrees yesterday morning. You know what I put on? The Muskox. GoMuskox.com. Promo code heavyweight. Save $15. Back with sports and Brock Palmbush after this. All right, let's check in on sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 11 games in the NBA yesterday. Winners included Detroit, Boston, Oklahoma City, and the LA Lakers. In the NHL, there were 6 games on the schedule. Winners included the New York Islanders, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Anaheim. In men's college basketball, Ohio State upset 8th-ranked Purdue 82-74, and 13th-ranked Michigan State won over Indiana 77-64. In women's college basketball, number 1 Connecticut, number 2 UCLA, number 3 South Carolina, and number 5 Vanderbilt all won. In golf, Nino Echevarria rallied to win the PGA Tour's Cognizant Classic in Florida, and Tyler Reddick won the NASCAR Duramax Texas Grand Prix, his 3rd win in a row to start the season. Reddick is the first driver ever to win the first 3 races of the NASCAR season. And among the spring training baseball winners were the New York Yankees, Baltimore, Atlanta, and the New York Mets. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, I have one hope for March Madness. I do.
What's that?
That Duke and Michigan are on opposite sides.
There's a better than even money chance that that's the case.
Yeah, that's what Vegas will want. I mean, I think wouldn't it be great to see a rematch in the national championship? Michigan lost by 6.
Yep.
They're in D.C., right, in a neutral court.
Yep, by 5, but close enough.
5, okay, so it is. But yeah, all right. So, look, those are the 2 best teams in basketball. Michigan plowing through Minnesota and Illinois, right?
Pretty much, yeah. The Illinois win was big, but they lost L.J. Case and one of their guards for the season, ACL tear. So that's a potential problem.
They're pretty deep. We'll see. You're right.
They are.
They're pretty deep. And
throw Arizona in there, too. Arizona's real good.
Yeah, there you go. All right, there you have it, Brock. All right, when we come back here at the top of the next hour, we'll have the latest updates from the ongoing war in the Middle East, involving several countries now: Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, of course, Lebanon being hit, and all those Arab countries lining up and declaring war on Iran, as is the UK, France, and Germany. Part of the program brought to you by PureClean's Veterans Initiative, PureOvet program, empowering veterans through franchise ownership in a $210 billion restoration industry. You can call 855-PureOvet or go to pureovet.com. pureovet.com to find out more. This is the Steve Gruber Show, back after this.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's kick it off as we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day, putting America first. Let's talk about everything going on in the world right now. A lot happening. The three big things this hour. Number one, Lebanon, the target of severe pinpoint attacks by the Israelis. Ali Hezbollah leadership, including current chief Naim Qassem, dead. Number two, the Strait of Hormuz. Traffic there being stopped to a crawl as ships there have been attacked. None severely injured or damaged, but the attacks happening in the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil travels through that area, mostly destined for China. That's going to be a problem for the Chinese. And number three, this is something we haven't talked about. Terrorism here at home. We haven't talked about it much. There was a shooting in Austin, Texas over the weekend. 3 people killed. Act of terrorism likely, says the FBI. The guy who was carrying out the attack and killed people was a naturalized U.S. citizen from Senegal. And his hoodie says, property of Allah. He also had a T-shirt on under the sweatshirt, under the hoodie, with the Iranian flag. So there you have it. Property of Allah. He murdered several people in Austin. It was at Buford's Backyard Beer Garden, West 6th, the packed entertainment district. And so as you look at this, you say, keep your head on a swivel, friends. I wouldn't leave home if I wasn't packed, I'll tell you that, not in this day and age. Because, look, we're going to see more attacks. We're going to see more attacks here in America and in Western nations. Just saw a stabbing reported, where was that, in Europe? In Scotland, actually. But here it is, terror attacks in America on everyone's mind. Those attacks could ramp up. Here's something that happened yesterday in Washington, D.C. I'm still waiting for the facts to emerge on this one. Roll the tape.
Scout 701 Delta 700 Bravo. I'm going to start you to a public service 495 southbound prior to Little River Turnpike. We're getting multiple calls of a male subject stabbing several people on 95. It started out as a property damage crash, and now he's stabbing people with a knife. Car 70 Bravo, you direct.
K95 reference. I'm direct. Start the K9, please.
10-4. K95, go.
VSP just announced shots fired.
And VSP just announced shots fired. 10-4. Are you en route, K9?
10-4, go ahead and add us. We're 50 in Stringfellow.
10-4.
All right, that unfolded on I-95 there in D.C. Multiple stabbings. And look, the first thing that jumps to mind for me and others when you hear about multiple stabbing events is terrorism. We'll keep an eye on that one. It's just one of many. You'll see more of this. Keep an eye on your schools. Keep an eye on your houses of worship. Keep an eye on yourself and your family. The FBI has pushed the alert level very high in America right now. Meanwhile, the Democrats have the government partially shut down, including the Department of Homeland Security. How does that make any sense? Well, it didn't to begin with because they were targeting ICE, but ICE is funded through 2029. So to target ICE this way is ridiculous. So the TSA, DHS, the Coast Guard, all part of the government shutdown right now, pushed by the Democrats. They want to talk about the War Powers Act. How about we put DHS and the Coast Guard and the TSA back to full pay? Right now, they're working for free today. Again, take these people out of your political world. Stop making them political pawns, I would say. Right? That's what I would suggest. That's what I would suggest. Meanwhile, you ask about radical Islam here in America. Well, I want you to hear from An imam in Dearborn, Michigan, also a professor, that says radical Islam will outlive the so-called supreme leader. Obviously, he's dead. This is from Dearborn, Michigan. Pay attention.
However, Trump did a huge mistake by killing our beloved leader, Sayyid Ali Khamenei. He thought that by killing him, he's going to make the believers submit and make them hopeless. However, we're going to continue on the path of Sayyid Ali Khamenei. We're going to hold his blood, his ideology. We're going to learn it and teach it to our children and grandchildren.
Yeah. So they say that they're here to outlive the supreme leader, so-called. And here we are on a new day. The Iran leadership is in tatters as we sit here today. Who is in charge of the nation of Iran? Who is left from the Ayatollah's regime? The answer is we don't know. We're waiting on battle damage assessments. Meanwhile, the home of the Fifth Fleet being evacuated at this hour. That's in Bahrain. Similar events going on in Dubai at this hour, as airlifts are underway to remove American military personnel and others from those locations, which means a heightened concern for security there. We don't know what's left in Iran's arsenal at this point. We don't. But every time they launch a missile or turn on a radar installation, they become an instant target. We don't just have control of Iranian skies, we have domination of Iranian skies right now. Right now, complete domination. Which means every time they turn on one of those radar installations or fire a single missile, those missile launching batteries are likely to be taken out within moments. Our jets are hunting the enemy actively. The drones are hunting the enemy actively. And the interesting thing is this, much of it is being pinpointed by satellites well out of the reach of the Iranian regime. The regime is going to come down, I believe. But we'll have to see what happens next. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is still there. 31 provinces in Iran, 31. And back in 2009, the supreme leader decentralized the IRGC so that every province has an IRGC headquarters, if you will. It would be interesting if they could take one province down, they being those that want freedom in Iran, take one province down, and then a second, and then a third. Build the momentum that way. Have to decide which of those 31 provinces is the weakest and work from there. Following all the fast-developing news headlines and following as much as I can. And again, I caution you, be careful what you read. Don't take it as truth until you verify it. A tremendous amount of misinformation flying around on the internet. Thank you, China. We appreciate your help. A lot of misinformation flying around. Be careful your sources, okay? Be careful your sources. I'll be right back. Back to it now as we keep an eye on everything happening in the Middle East. I can tell you now a fourth U.S. service member confirmed killed in action as a result of Operation Epic Fury. We'll keep an eye on all of that throughout the day and the coming days as well, but a lot more to cover in the news headlines. We don't want it all lost to one topic, of course. Mike Toth is the Director of Research at the University of Texas, Austin Civita Institute. The Supreme Court is going to hear a climate lawfare case, right? They're going to hear this important case coming up. Mike Toth joining us. Mike, nice to see you.
Steve, always great to be with you.
Yeah. All right. Suncor Energy v. County Commissioners of Boulder. What is this, and why is it important for our listeners to understand it?
Well, I'll start by saying it's good news. So for the last several years, and this is the bad news part, the oil and gas industry in the United States of America has been subject to what we call climate lawfare. And these companies have been pushing for the United States Supreme Court to grant review of these cases. And these cases have a number of legal problems with them. So the fact that our oil and gas companies are going to get their day in court at the U.S. Supreme Court, that's good news. And I'll just share one other point with your listeners. The U.S. Supreme Court is not like other courts. So with other courts, you file a lawsuit, you get your day in court. With the U.S. Supreme Court, except for very rare circumstances, they control their docket. So step one at the U.S. Supreme Court, you kind of have to win twice. Step one is you have to get your appeal granted, get your day at the U.S. Supreme Court. And then step two is you got to win the case. So good day for U.S. national energy dominance when the U.S. Supreme Court decided to grant this appeal. And I'm happy to tell you more about what's going to happen when the case is argued.
All right. So when is the case going to be argued? Obviously, the court is in session until what, June? That's usually when we get the big decisions handed down, June. I'm waiting on the one out of Louisiana referencing voting districts. But this one also very important because what has happened is those on the left, the Green New Dealers, have abused their privilege in court and filed all these lawsuits against oil and gas companies trying to claim that they are the problem creating alleged climate change, right? That's the basis for their attacks.
Yeah, 100%, Steve. And the case won't be heard before June. However, when the court comes back in session in the fall, that's when this case is going to get argued, whether it'll be the fall or the early winter time of 2027. So it'll be scheduled soon for argument. The court has agreed to take the case. Why does it matter? So it's really 2 points when it comes down to it. Right now, we are living in a time of global energy surge. What that means is demand for energy is surging all around the globe. That's point one. Second thing is the United States is a major exporter now of energy. We're exporting energy to Asia. We're exporting energy to Europe. If you go to Louisiana, you mentioned the state of Louisiana about another case. The ports of Louisiana, the Gulf Coast, is just bustling with traffic of tankers that are taking our liquefied natural gas and shipping it out to the world. Now, what these cases are trying to do, and this is why it's so important for the United States Supreme Court to step in and to get this right, is that what these cases are trying to do is hold U.S. oil and gas companies responsible for global, that is around the world, carbon emissions. But what that does is it imposes a tax effectively because legal costs are going to get passed on to the consumer, and the consumer are global consumers of U.S. oil and gas. So it makes our exports more expensive for the world that's demanding it. Well, what does that then do? That makes Russian pipeline gas into Europe less expensive compared to us. That makes Chinese renewables, which they're pushing all over the global south, more competitive versus ours. So this is a way of hamstringing our industry on the world, and that is a major foreign policy problem, and the court needs to get it right.
Mike, let's be honest about this. China is a polluter nation. So is India. So is Brazil. America, and this really is not arguable, America's the cleanest, greenest, industrialized nation on the planet, and they keep attacking us. It's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder what the real priorities are here. And the reason why the United States carbon emissions are actually going down in the United States relative to what was predicted,
for 20
it's because
years.
of liquefied natural gas. It's not a rule. It's not an international agreement. It's because of technology. It's because we've unleashed this incredible asset. And we're also exporting that asset. So when liquefied natural gas is sent out to the world that's demanding it, well, they're not burning coal if they're consuming our liquefied natural gas. So we're actually helping international carbon emissions as well, right? And so this is just such a backward approach. And
Look, I'm not
the reality is,
going to lie, Mike. I'm a big fan of coal, too. Look, the Chinese are building a coal-fired power plant, finishing 1 or 2 a week, and have for years now. And most of those plants that they're building either in China or elsewhere, because they're building around the world as well, at least they were, they're not even going online. They're building these coal-fired power plants in China and setting them there for future reference. Just setting them there in case they need them, because they understand the demand on energy. While in America, we're bulldozing. At least we were. I think we've stopped that nonsense now. We were bulldozing coal plants. But there is good news for modular nuclear, liquefied natural gas, as you said, and coal production is on the rise again. Last word to you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And on your point about coal, I mean, look, we just have had a terrible winter set of storms. I mean, who wasn't giving thanks for coal for keeping our grid reliable, keeping it affordable? At the end of the day, Steve, and this is a key point, energy demand is a good thing. What energy demand means for the United States and for the rest of the world is that business is happening, factories are getting powered, ideas are getting fueled, and that is a good thing. And the United States is in a great position to be a global exporter of energy. We see with the events of today how important energy is and the price of energy is to everything that happens in the world. And we need the U.S. Supreme Court to obviously follow the law. These cases should not be getting handled in state courts.
Agreed.
These are federal issues, and we need the court to get this right and to continue this great progress that we've had in the last 25 years of really becoming a dominant energy power in the world. We're no longer reliant on adversaries to do what we need to do as a country. It's a great thing.
Mike Toth, greatly appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you.
Steve, enjoyed it. Let's do it again.
All right, we will. Oil prices, by the way, up about 7% today, speaking of energy, because of the conflict in the Middle East. Up, but not out of control. I'll be right back. As I mentioned earlier, the FBI has escalated the alert level here in the United States dramatically as we try to keep an eye on potential terrorist attacks here on American soil. They will happen. I'm sorry to say, but I believe they will happen. In Texas, the governor there, Greg Abbott, deploys the Texas National Guard and Department of Public Safety to ramp up patrols at energy facilities, ports of the southern border amid U.S.-Iran escalation. It's a precautionary surge following deadly U.S. losses and the Iranian retaliation, of course, as we are keeping an eye on everything happening around the world. It's clear now that parts of the Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain has been hit. It appears that the American embassy in Kuwait has been hit. We are waiting for assessments on that. We have no idea of casualties or the amount of damage inflicted. We're told that there is an airlift running out of Bahrain and Kuwait. Again, much of this moving fast. So we'll try to keep it to limited information. I don't want to speculate on what is happening. I don't want to make a mistake on the coverage here. So we'll try to do our best to make sure that you have the right information and you are up to date without us getting off track. It's important that you trust the sources. So Watch out for speculation. I say again, watch out for people telling you things on social media that may or may not be true. Here's what's true. Patriots Relief can help you with anxiety, pain, and the ability to sleep. You got a sore back, an aching knee, and you're trying to impress somebody. Well, if aches and pains are keeping you out of the game, well, Patriots Relief can help. Right now, they've got a special still running. Get 45% off store-wide for a limited time. 45% off store-wide at Patriots Relief. So whether you're buying it for yourself or somebody you love, treat yourself, because self-care is important. Don't wait. Real relief is just a phone call away. 877-230-1776. 877-230-1776. Or visit patriotsrelief.com. The promo code, of course, is Gruber. Again, it's 45% off store-wide right now at patriotsrelief.com. I'll be right back. All right, coming up now, State Representative Joe Aragona of Macomb County, Clinton Township in Michigan. He's joining me now. Joe, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Steve.
Good to have you. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk to you about more fun subjects than war in Iran. That's a tough one. It's been kind of a crazy weekend. I know you've been covering it a lot. So
It sure has. I mean, it's top to bottom. We're keeping an eye on everything. We just had a report of the 4th American casualty, the 4th death in theater. We'll keep an eye on that, of course. But yeah, let's take a moment and talk about something less serious but important to you, and that is food trucks. Food trucks getting hassled in different places. So you've got House Bill 5450 and House Bill 5451, which will make it easier for food trucks to operate. Why did you need to do this?
yeah, so the other bill is sponsored by my colleague Tim Beeson up in the Bay City area, who actually owns a food truck. So it's kind of apropos that he and I be working on this together. But it got some complaints, I guess, from food trucks, food truck owners. I mean, these are small business owners. A lot of them are starting food trucks, and eventually they want to become that brick and mortar store. Some of them are the other way around. Some of them are brick and mortar stores. They start a food truck to get a little bit more outreach or to help out with events in the community. And they said, they're going from municipality to municipality. They're getting inspections, like fire inspections, at each one. Well, a fire starts the same, in Macomb County as it does up in Traverse City, right? And so the thought was, if everybody could get one fire inspection, as long as they don't make any drastic changes, one fire inspection every year, that should be good across the state. You still have to have your food inspection. That's still held at the county level, but food truck to food truck, you're only going to get your fire inspection once a year. Make it a lot easier on everybody to get inspected and to operate.
Yeah, I don't remember food trucks when I was a kid, but man, they've become a thing in the last few years. And look, some of these food trucks, they put out the goods, man. I mean, there's a couple of taco trucks that are personal favorites of mine because they're just remarkable. And look, this is somebody hustling. This is somebody working. This is somebody trying to put, may I pardon the pun, food on the table, not just for themselves, but for the community, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly. So, if they're going from one municipality to the other, again, why do they need to go through another inspection when they know they're going to pass, and then that's another fee that they got to pay out? Why do that? And we've also gotten, complaints from these properly operating food trucks that they'll show up in municipalities where they know there's no food truck inspection, there's no fire inspection. They just haven't gotten to that part in their code yet to realize, like, hey, maybe we should be inspecting these guys. And they'll be sitting next to, at a festival, they'll be sitting next to somebody who's not been inspected, and they're looking, going, ooh, some of this work looks a little shoddy. I think maybe they need an inspection, right? So this is for the safety and welfare kind of the residents. It's also helping businesses and just kind of straightening everything out there. So
yeah, it would make sense. How are restaurants licensed? Aren't they licensed by the state, or are they licensed by the jurisdiction they're in? That's my question, because in most states, you get a license to serve food from the state. It would seem to me that food trucks could fall under that same umbrella, so you could travel from Flint to Fredonia. Shouldn't make any darn difference. You should be able to go wherever if you're licensed and legal and running a good operation, you should be able to move about, right?
Correct. And this is specifically for the fire inspection itself. So in order to serve food, to get that food license, from the health department, that actually goes county by county.
All right.
And so if you go from one county to the next county, you'll still need that inspection, right? So that's something that won't be changing. The counties
will work on that, would you?
Yeah, I can look into that one as well. Sure.
Yeah, but the fire inspection, this is kind of an oddity to me. It's a single truck. They don't usually park it in next to a building. They're usually parked in a lot so they can have people pull in and pull out. I mean, I've seen them at get-togethers, festivals in the summer and so forth. You have a row of food trucks. It seems like overkill to me.
Yeah. So the argument we got from inspectors was they have, propane tanks, big propane tanks on there. There's electrical. All right. I understand the want for an inspection. And to be honest, the inspection doesn't really take that long. So I'm somebody for less government, but this one made sense to me for the safety and welfare of the residents and the people they're serving. I can understand
inspection.
that.
One inspection,
exactly.
One annual inspection should cover it.
Exactly.
And how much do these inspections cost if you go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction? How much do you get dinged every time?
Well, that was the thing. We were finding a variety of different costs, but they're anywhere from, I think we found one down to like $50 up to 250, something like that. And if you're having to pay one of these every week, well, that's going to add up, right? So why
Yeah.
not pay once a year? If you do any big changes to your or to your food truck, all right, you got to get re-inspected. But who's doing major changes in the middle of the season where you're going out and making money, right? So once a year and leave it at that.
Right. And not to mention the time involved. There's time. There's time when you're not prepping food and not doing your work because you're in another inspection. You have to wait. You can't, Anyhow.
Exactly.
Do you have bipartisan support? What do you got here? What do you think? What's the trajectory of this bill?
Yeah, they got voted out of committee with all yes votes. So they're sitting on the House floor right now. I think we're going to end up voting on them this week, actually. So I expect good things. I expect they'll be over in the Senate, and then we'll go to work in that chamber.
All right. Sounds good to me. Greatly appreciate you being here, Joe, as always. Keep up the good work.
Great. Thanks, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. See, a lot of things to cover here, not just what's happening in the Middle East. Here's something you probably haven't heard. Iran has the fastest growing Christian population in the Middle East. Well over 1 million Christians. And there are a lot of predictions that if there is a regime change, if the mullahs are no longer in charge and there's some progression toward freedom in Iran, there'll be an explosion of followers of Christ. There'll be an explosion in the Christian church like the Middle East has not seen in my lifetime or yours. And maybe that's a concern to some of these folks, that the Christians will rise, right? And the churches will reopen, and the freedom of religion will return to Iran. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something to behold? I'm told that a number of mosques have closed across Iran in recent years because nobody was attending. People were no longer going. Some estimates as high as 50,000 mosques across Iran have closed in the last couple of decades. Now, I'll have to wait for confirmation on that, but it's one of the reports I'm reading that's reasonably reliable. But again, I caution you, be careful what you listen to, be careful what you read, be careful what you take as gospel, because a lot of it out there is just going to be garbage. People just trolling for clicks, right? Just trolling for clicks. They'll put on some dramatic footage and say, oh, this terrible thing happened or whatever. Be careful. The bots are hard at work out of Beijing today and Moscow and right here at home. The bots are working hard to tell you things that just simply are not true. That's why you come here. I'll try to break it down for you, sort it out, sift through it, and get to the bottom of everything and try to verify every fact I can as fast as I can. When we come back from the break, Ivy will be here. Don't go anywhere. All right, back at it now. Ivy's joining me now. Ivy, good morning. It's been a very busy weekend, to say the least. Nice to see you this morning. As you know, I normally turn my phone off at 5 o'clock on Friday. Well, that didn't go so well this weekend. We were called into action, and thank God for you, because we were at the second studio. You were able to get us up on the air. We were up live for a couple of hours on Saturday morning, Real America's Voice, following everything that's happening. A little bad news this morning. A fourth American service member has died as a result of the Operation Epic Fury. At least 3 F-15s were lost to friendly fire in Kuwait. That's unfortunate. But the air crews, these two-man crews got out of each one, so nobody hurt, but 3 planes lost. That's unfortunate from friendly fire. Anti-missile batteries took out 3 American fighter jets. So that's a bad scenario. But what's your take? I know you were just watching Pete Hegseth. What's your takeaway from what he was saying?
Well, I would first say what an incredible victory for good versus evil. As everyone knows, this regime was incredibly radical, always chanting death to America, and I'm sure many of its neighbors, including Israel. And so the Operation Epic Fury, take out their missile defenses so that then they can never be able to protect themselves to then be able to go into trying to getting a nuclear weapon. Because, with the operations that it had happened before, what was the one that the president just did when he dropped all the bombs?
Midnight Hammer.
Midnight Hammer, thank you.
Right.
They didn't stop their, proceeding to get a nuclear weapon and enrich your uranium and all
Correct.
that. They just, started again wherever they needed to.
And I know you're not old enough to remember, but I can tell you when I was in junior high school watching the live footage of the American embassy fall in Tehran, 52 Americans taken hostage, blindfolded, paraded around, tortured for 444 days until Jimmy Carter, a very weak president, left office. And 20 minutes into Ronald Reagan's first term, those hostages were released because they knew that Ronald Reagan was going to get his hostages back, unlike Jimmy Carter, who failed miserably. But you had the Iran hostage crisis. You had the attacks in Beirut on the embassy that killed 63, including 17 Americans, also in 1983. And I remember this as well, too. You used to watch this on the news. The Marine barracks was bombed, 241 U.S. service members killed. I remember them digging the bodies out of the rubble. And this list goes on because it's not just Iran, but it's its proxies. It's Hezbollah, it's Hamas, it is the Houthis, all of these radical terrorist organizations, which, by the way, have lost their supply chain because of this, not to mention the pressure now on the nation of China. This is instrumental because with Venezuela taken off the chessboard for China and getting basically really cheap oil because they're buying it at next to nothing, and they also were doing the same thing with Iran. So that accounts for 20 to 25% of Chinese oil they use to run their economy. Well, just think,
right,
if we could run our economy with oil that was half price, it would help us too. The Chinese have been gaming the system for years, and I think that's part of Trump's strategy.
Absolutely. And what a great day for the Iranian people, too. And as Pete Hegseth said moments ago, relaying what the president had said, hey, Iranian people, it's your time.
It is your time.
Take your country back.
Yeah.
I was actually speaking to a woman at the gym who was an older Iranian woman, actually kind of reminded me of my grandmother and the way that, she carried herself. But she said, at the time, I really wish that this president would do for the Iranian people what he did for Venezuela.
And here it is.
And so I know as we were watching that on Saturday and watching the breaking news and reporting the breaking news, that I thought about her. And I knew she was celebrating. And as you look online and see
all over the world,
thousands of Iranian people celebrating, and then how is it that it's like clockwork? All of a sudden you have these, emergency protests that get into place, and how do they have all of this stuff ready to go? Like these protest posters, and they get together and they go out and let's stand for Iran. I'm like, whoa, these people have a great operation going on, because it's like, name your thing that they want to protest about. All of a sudden, they have everything they need at hand.
They've got a warehouse or several warehouses.
Yeah, exactly, with the printing, the printing machines.
All the signs are the same. Everything's
Oh, my
pre-printed.
gosh.
Here's your sign. Here's your paycheck. Here's your sign. Here's your paycheck.
Right.
It is remarkable, and it's all paid for. That's something else that's being investigated by the Department of Justice, by the way, this rent-a-riot. Rent-a-riot, just put them out there. But the problem they had this time around was Times Square was filled with people celebrating.
Right.
Los Angeles was filled with people celebrating. So was London. So was Paris. So was Toronto. All these places. And they brought out the old Iranian flag with the lion on it. And they're flying the Iranian flag that existed before 1979 that I hope is coming back. You will know that there's been a change in Iran when you start seeing that flag with the lion flying in Tehran.
Yeah.
That's the signal I'm looking for, honestly.
Right. Yeah, and as we were briefed by the Secretary of War, the operation is, could be weeks. It could be however long it takes in order for them to take out the military ability of
the IRGC.
The IRGC.
Correct.
So we continue to pray for our brothers and sisters out there fighting for the United States, and pray for their safety. But I'm grateful for all that they do.
I am grateful as well. We're going to hear from Pete Hegseth after the break here. We get one of his comments. We'll play it for you here in a moment. But Ivy, thank you for being here as always.
Thank you, Steve. Love you.
Love you too. So we're keeping an eye on all of this, and it will continue to develop. Will it take a few days, a few weeks? Nobody knows. You're in the first 2 or 3 days of a major military confrontation, a confrontation that has taken out the so-called supreme leader and 40 of their highest-ranking people. In Lebanon overnight, the leader of Hezbollah was taken out by the Israelis. Other terrorist leaders being taken out, not just in Lebanon and Iran, but in other places as well. This is a multi-pronged operation. And by the way, all those Arab nations, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, UAE, and all the rest have joined now in the effort to crush Iran's regime. All the Arab nations are on board. Back with Pete Hegseth after this. Do you have that soundbite? All right. Welcome back. Let's take a quick listen to what Pete Hegseth had to say in part just moments ago. Here he is.
Pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives. As the president warned, an effort of this scope will include casualties.
Sadly, that number is now 4. Again, the American pilots shot down by Kuwaiti anti-missile defense systems by accident, friendly fire incident. 3 jets down that we are aware of. All 3 flight crews ejected safely. That we're also aware of. A mistake made there. But in such a complex, complicated operation, it is to be expected. As the president said in a release earlier, more casualties will likely occur. It's unfortunate. It's the cost of taking out a dictatorship. Donald Trump did not start a war with Iran. I'm hoping that he's ending it after 47 years. And with a growing coalition involving those Arab nations, the UK, Germany, and France. France now sending the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean to help in operations. The whole world turns on this rogue nation. Maybe, for the first time in my adult life, Iran will breathe free. We will find out. We will find out. Fight the good fight and keep the faith, my friends. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America. Keep your head on a swivel out there, folks. Stay safe, please. We'll talk soon.